Hello and welcome to the Electronic Eremite Reviews. I'm your host, the Electronic Eremite. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Victory Point Games' new second edition of the solo game Zulus on the Ramparts. It is a war game in a sense, a solo war game that is simulating the heroic British siege defense of the Battle of Rorke's Drift. If you're familiar with, you're a Michael Caine fan and you're familiar with older movies, it is the subject of the Michael Caine movie Zulus, emphatically said with an exclamation point. Here I've already got it set up, so I want to show you some things. Now, many people may know about Victory Point games, and usually their reputation for having somewhat shoddy components, or being just cheaply made, so that it's quick, easy to produce, easy to get out there to wargamers who, and let's face it, wargamers typically don't worry as much about the components and think more about the gameplay, as Victory Point Games' motto is, the gameplay's the thing. But rightfully so, I believe, that Victory Point Games got a lot of flack because sometimes their components were just so substandard, or at least they were not exactly where they needed to be on the older editions, that really after repeated and repeated and repeated plays, that things would begin to fray, your cards would begin to be very weak, and so they would bend or crease. And so Victory Point Games was basically asked by its constituents, by its market, hey, why don't you make some really nice high quality components? You can charge us more money. We'd really like something that we can pull out and enjoy. And Zulus on the Ramparts, one of the first of these gold box standards, if you will. They've had quite a few earlier than this, but this is one of the first because Zulus on the Rampart, when it was released, even in its sort of lesser component condition, it was a very big hit for the solo game wargamer out there. And so Zulus on the Rampart has been fairly highly anticipated. And now I think that people will be very happy to see the sort of components. Interestingly enough, Zulus on the Rampart, here's the sort of sleeve, comes in a box that is very small. So it's easy to travel with, it's easy to pick up and play, it's easy to shelf. Has a nice book, nice manual, full color, nice pages. I will say something about the manual. Zulus on the Rampart is a fairly intuitive game once you've learned it. It's fairly easy to learn how to play. The manual, however, is a little bit confusing. I think that the rules could be streamlined a bit. They're set up in classic war game format of the 6.2.2, very classic, phase-oriented layout, but I think that the layout could have been a little bit better. I think it could have been a little bit clearer. There's some times that you have a little exceptions to the rules, or a few exceptions. You can do one volley, but maybe you can do two, depending on your cards. And so these exceptions sometimes don't come out so easily in the rulebook, which means that you usually end up having to go to Board Game Geek or an FAQ and make sure you're doing things right. The board is in front of you. And I've actually missed a piece. I want to show you that it is, in fact, a puzzle piece board so that it fits into the small box. You can see it's a nice thick cardboard, very nice, very pretty, not at all bendable, not at all, I see no curling at all. I've had this for a little bit now, no curling. I fit that piece right in there. I'm going to show you some of the other pieces because I think they're really fun. These are Standees, so you can see they have a nice little stand on them that shows you what die roll you would need to get to defend with this Standee. But you can see it's got Dalton, he's at the storehouse. You would put him then, if you got his card and put him out, you put him in the storehouse, you can see he kind of stands up like that. You've got Standees for the Zulus who are attacking, which are really cool. Let me see if I can get that to, there we go. Really cool. You can see here's the one of the sort of life counters, and then you can see, now look how thick. It is almost like wood. These are laser cut, and so when you get them, the sort of notorious thing, we'll put him up there where he's supposed to be, the sort of notorious thing about these new second editions gold box games is that they will come with a little wiping, Sir Wipes-a-Lot wiping Victory Points napkin, if you will, and you will have to wipe the soot off of your pieces. So along the sides here there will be a nice layer of soot from where the laser cut. Not everybody has it as bad. Some have it worse. You can see this is a nice thick standee. Very nice. But that's the price you pay for having almost wood-like cardboard components. These are magnificent. I think they're wonderful. Look at this. Look at this. Only one, but they're a little hard to put into their standees. Look at this fire. I love it. Really pretty. They're going to last quite some time. As far as the other thing that Victory Point Games was criticized very heavily about was the cards and the card quality. Now I have in fact sleeved these, but you can see these are very decent thick cards. They're real card stock. I of course like to sleeve everything. I wouldn't say they're as strong as say, one of the Flying Frog games, for example, like Last Night on Earth. Those cards are kind of glossy and things like that. They're not as strong as that, but they're maybe about comparable to a Magic card in its quality. So I think those are very nice. As I said, you get a variety of quite a bit. So you will spend some time wiping the soot off of your pieces. You have quite a few. Here's some of the chits that you will use to pull out to show where the Zulus are attacking. So those are your Zulu attack chits. You'll put those into a cup, or I have a nice little bag. Let me just throw those out there so that you can see them a little bit. They're in sort of comparison to the others. Here's a nice little Zulu victory marker. Shows you where, if the Zulus get, you'll lose. There are markers for pretty much anything. Ammunition's low. You've got day-night marker. I wish they had just made that a flip, but they actually have 2 markers, which is fine, but been nice if it was just a flip. Got barricade markers here, so that when you're building a barricade, you can keep track of where the barricades are. Now, you'll actually put these here to begin the game. You also have some outside situations. The base game does not use the outside situation pieces here, but that's where you'll get these sort of things. If you want to use some of the extra cards, some of them based on ahistorical situations and others based upon the actions of the movie, which are just a little bit different than the real historical event, then you can use these and those will come into play. You also have a place where you can make your reserve platoon, and you'll put your men there. You've got your Zulu casualties, so you'll actually put your cards there. Just for fun, they've given us also a nice, high-quality, glossy paperboard in case you, I don't know, maybe you needed to take it. I'm not sure why you would ever have that, but hey, why not? I mean, they're throwing everything at us. Now, the gameplay is really what's important here. As Victory Point Game says, the gameplay's the thing. And what makes Zulus on the Rampart a very, very good solo game is that it is both simple, but it is also tense, and it is also quick. The basic idea is you have different Zulus, and they will be randomly placed, so some of them having quite a few troops in them, others of them having very few, so only, say, the stand itself and 1 extra guy, and then, of course, middling in between. And they will be consistently moving forward towards your area here in the middle. Before you put any barricades out, if they reach here, you lose. They move along by you, like I said, you'll pick one of these chits out of a hat or a cup, and it'll show you, okay? There we go. This says that the middle, the chest, will be moving forward 1. If the sort of different horns here were lit up, sometimes you can have multiple, so you could see this has got both horns moving 2. Ooh, that's nasty. You've got a variety. You also have some special things. This right here shows that there was some dissension in your ranks, a question over seniority, and so that causes different events. I'm not really going to go through the events because that's not really what I'm here to do. That's something you can do. But you'll move forward. So let's say I'd pulled the one with the 2 different horns. Here's the right horn. Oop, moves forward 2. Here's the left horn, moves forward 2. Very nasty. And as they get closer and closer, you're going to get them in from all sides. And as they get closer and closer, the tension builds. You want to try to push back your Zulu victory marker here. Maybe build another barricade to push it back there. But right now, you start there, and that's very tense, very hard. And so what do you do? How do you react? Well, you're going to be reacting through a variety of different cards in card play. There are really just about a couple types of cards that you can have. You will start with a predetermined hand. It always starts with a predetermined hand. Very easy to see which ones you're going to seed the deck with or start with. So you actually start with these three, and you're going to seed the deck with these two because they have blue boxes here, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you'll start with Lieutenant Bromhead and Lieutenant Chard. So these guys, these are officers. And when you play those, you get basically one action per turn. Then you can also get free actions or use special abilities. But you're going to then play those out. And once they're played out, I'm going to put them, well, the camera, you would play them, let's say, below here. I'm not putting them there, but play those, say, below, right here. And you would have them in your area active. You also get to activate one for free at the end of the turn, so it's possible that you can have two active right away. And then once they're active, you can use them for different things. You can use them for a volley to shoot, for sacrificing, but you have to sacrifice them, which means discard them. You might be able to get them back, but likely you will not. You can use them for their special abilities. There's a variety of special abilities. For example, this one says that you can return, which means return him to your hand to perform one additional action this time. That's actually a free action, so if you return him to your hand, you would actually get 2 actions that turn. Or you can discard him to draw up to 2 additional cards. So some of these things require that you get rid of your guys, other of them don't. And also, you can take activated guys and do things like form up the reserve platoon, which requires 1 lieutenant and 1 sergeant, or 1 lieutenant and another lieutenant. So I could put 2 active lieutenants there. It means I can't use them for anything else, but I would then grab my reserve platoon that's formed. I would put it in the reserve platoon formed little piece, which is somewhere around in here. Not exactly sure where that goes, but anyway, I would put the reserve platoon formed piece out. And the reserve platoon, I think it goes here. And the reserve platoon then would allow me to do other actions. It usually depends upon what kind of cards you have. You know, some of them say the reserve platoon must be formed. Otherwise, and you can always get these guys back by just, breaking down the reserve platoon. You can also use these officers or these character cards to build a barricade. This one requires 1 lieutenant or 1 sergeant. And it takes 3 actions, 1 to put him in there, and then 2 more to actually build the barricade to finish it up. So it takes quite a bit of time to build the barricade. Now on the other hand, you also have cards that are for volleys. And so this is one you start with. You can see some volleys are better at long range, means you get to roll 3 dice. Others are better at medium range, and others are better at close range. You get 1 die in the box, which is, I guess, another little complaint, is that really you need 5 dice, but you only get 1. So I would say, have some 6, and most everybody has these, and any serious wargamer will have 6-sided die sitting around. So make sure to pull out your 5 6-sided die. Use those. So if you get a 5, you make them retreat, and if you get a 6, you get a hit. So it's fairly simple, very easy. Quick to roll to see what you've done. You can only really target 1 place. So, for example, that one I just showed you has a nice long range of 3, which means, oh, this guy's in box 3. That's who I'd want to shoot. And then it gives me a nice bonus action too. After I fire the volley, I get another action that I can perform during my turn. So that's really cool. It's like a free shot. You're going to get a variety of different characters and volleys. See, here's one that requires the reserve platoon. You got another lieutenant here. He has some special things. Like I said, you can also discard or sacrifice your lieutenants, your officers, in order to get a nice volley. Some of these guys are kind of neat because they will put out a standee. Commissary James Langley Dalton puts out a standee that actually will hold off the Zulus as they'll have to roll. So for example, I showed you Dalton earlier, and so Dalton goes in the storehouse. So if these Zulus try to come into the storehouse, they have to roll, and if they hit a 4, 5, or 6, they can't come in. He defends them from the storehouse. If they get less than that, then they come in and he goes back into your hand. So he gets taken out. And basically have to use him again and wait till they leave, or you push them back enough before you can put him back out again. So that's really the simple nuts and bolts of the game, and what really makes it fun is there's a lot of different strategy you can use. It does depend upon the cards you draw. Now obviously you start with the same 3 cards, so you've got a certain beginning sequence you're going to have. And then you've got other cards, and it depends upon, you know, do I get a bunch of volleys? Do I get the right volleys? Did I commit the reserve platoon, which means that I've got to be thinking about committing that reserve platoon so I can use it, because it's a devastating, let me see if I can find it again, because it's a devastating, look at this. It's got a close range that's devastating all of your 5 dice. And so that's really nice. Of course, when you do it, you actually go low on ammo, which means that you have a rolling penalty, a dice penalty. So you need to then hand out ammo after you've shot your volley of the reserve platoon. It gets to be crazy. There's always too much stuff. You need one of these officer character cards in order to hand out the ammo, but then it puts them back in your hand, and so it's always something to do. You never have enough time, and which is makes the tension for the game. It makes it a good, tense, fun experience, if you like that sort of thing. If you don't like the feeling of constantly encroaching doom, then you probably won't like this game. But then again, most solo war games are going to be the constant encroach of doom. These are how many extra cards you get that follow characters from the movie, or characters that might have been there but were not there in the actual historical battle, or events also from the movie. So these are nice because they basically give you some more variety, and you can replace other cards with them or add them to your deck. Sing Men of Harlech, which is from the movie, which is kind of neat, and also you've got other things. So these are really nice that once you've played enough times with just the standard historical deck, then you can go back and you can try to play with different types of modifiers, play with different ahistorical scenarios, or follow the movie, or do whatever you want to do. Basically what you're trying to do is either kill every one of the invaders, which is extremely hard to do unless you're just a very lucky roller, or wait it out until you get to the Lord Chelmsford's relief column comes. So once you get that, you survive, and then you get to decide what happened. You get to decide your level of victory by how people have survived and where the Zulus got to. You also have Night that will appear about halfway through, and Night's kind of bad unless you have fire burning. The fire actually helps you so that it reduces the Night dice penalty, but Night will be a dice penalty because you can't see very well while they're attacking. It just gets crazier and crazier as time goes on. And so anyway, this is basically the way it goes. I would say a good game of this takes about 3 minutes to set up and about 15 minutes to play. Yes, 15 minutes to play. It's very quick, very easy. Once you've learned the system, once you've gotten the sort of rule book down, which it takes a little bit of reading, as you can see. It's not exactly light reading. 15 minutes once you've gotten it down pat, and you'll play it over and over and over. You'll say, oh man, once you've got it already set up, everything's ready, all you have to really do is pull out the seeded cards and redo it again. It doesn't take very long. It's very easy to do that. And you'll play it again. And you'll say, man, I lost. I'll play it again. Man, I lost. I'll play it again. Oh, I won that one, but you know, I want to play it again just in case. So it's easy to just do 3 or 4 plays and not really have any problem at all, because it is very quick to play, very simple to run, very tense, but also extremely fun. It's one of my favorite quick playing solo games. Now, as a different thought here, as an alternative, you can buy, for a little bit cheaper, the iPad version of Zulus on the Ramparts. Victory Point Game also recently put out a app version of this game. The app version is, in my opinion, very well done. It is a little slow running, and I think, just from my experience, it takes just as much time to play the physical version than it does to play the app version. And with the physical version, you of course get nice pieces that are going to last you. You get nice cards that are going to last you. But if you're on the go and you don't want to set up a board game, then buy the app version. For all intents and purposes, it's the exact same game, and I think it takes about the same amount of time. But look, this is actually smaller than your iPad, about the same size as a Kindle Fire, maybe a little small, no, maybe a little larger, and it's easy to travel with. So I would suggest, if you like physical board games, get the physical board game. If you really just need something quick to do, you don't want to mess with the physical components, but you want to set aside 15 minutes to play the iPad version, get the iPad version. I got both versions. I thought that it was fun to have both versions. I thought that that was useful for different purposes. And in a sense, I'm actually a little upset that I got the iPad version, because after doing so, I decided, well, might as well have just stuck with the physical version. It's easy, it's quick to move around. It's like you can bring this to a hotel room, set it up, doesn't take any space. You could almost play it on a plane, I suppose, if you had the proper... I do have a nice... What I've done is gotten a nice canvas draw bag that I put these little chits into, that I can just pull them out when I need them. I think it'll be a little hard to play on a plane, a little too big. But you could bring, I suppose that's where this comes in. It's the same size, but it's not, you don't have to worry about it getting spilled on. So that's Zulus on the Rampart. And it's a good game. It's very good components now. Surprised you for a victory point game. You will get this, you'll say, whoa. It also, because of the laser cut, smells a little bit like barbecue. So you're going to get hungry for smoked meat if you play this game. It has a little bit of a barbecue smell, especially when you're cleaning off the pieces. So that's that for Zulus on the Rampart. I hope you enjoyed the review. It's a very good solo game. Now remember, it is only a solo game. There is no cooperative component. You really can't play it with a second player or a third player. It'll only be for solo. It is a quick playing game. It is a very fun game. It's a very tense game. It's one of my favorite solo play games because of the ease of getting into it. I hope you enjoyed the review, and as always, game on.